consider yourself a really intensive, devoted fan of this franchise, but I've got a quiz that's going to keep you from getting through that particular gate today. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or hockey. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. You ready? Here goes. And hang on, before I even say it, I would hope that someone who is as committed as you are, and I'm looking right at you, dead in the eyes, someone who is as, I don't want to say obsessed, that sounds unhealthy, although following this particular team can be unhealthy, someone who's this into it, and this into just the concept of how much money they spend and which players they sign and where payroll is, you should be able to answer the following question like that. Ready? Name for me all 5 free agents that Ben Cherington signed this year. And I'm going to make it easier than saying everybody that's been signed, because I'm just going to limit it to players who have been signed to major league only terms. So, for example, Josh Fleming, lefty reliever, signed away from the Rays, has a 1-year deal worth $850,000, but it's a different term if he's in the minors. That's not a major league deal. Only the guys who have one form of salary, one form of pay at the big league level guaranteed. 5 guys. And go ahead. I'll give you like a couple of seconds here while I'm blabbing to try to think about it. 5 guys. Wait, I'll even spot you one. I'm going to spot you one. Ready? Andrew McCutchen. Technically, Kutch was a free agent, so Kutch is one of the 5. I can't make this a whole lot easier for you. 4 other guys who were signed as free agents. Ready? Here are the answers. And I don't think you got the other 4. Aroldis Chapman, $10.5 million. You probably got that one. He was the big money guy. He was the big investment. Really good, potentially really exciting, but really also a middle relief guy at this stage of his career. Rowdy Tellez is the next. You probably got him too. Martin Perez, who pitched really well this week. Veteran lefty who just won a championship with the Rangers. That's the 3rd one. And the 4th one is Yasmani Grandal, the catcher who is signed to either take Henry Davis's place or nurture Henry into his next phase of his career or whatever. But that's it. That's it. And do you know what position, what role I count in that quintet only once? That's Perez. Now, if you want to throw in Marco Gonzalez, you can do that too, even though he wasn't a free agent. He was acquired via trade from the Braves, and he came at a massive discount compared to what his actual dollar commitment is. But he also comes as a massive asterisk for that $2.5 million being fresh off a nerve injury, and nerve injuries are really, really hard for pitchers to bounce back from. So what you have are 5 free agents and that trade acquisition. Now, deep breath here. How many times did you hear me say in recent months, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do? At various events over this winter, we heard from Cherington, we heard from Travis Williams, we heard from Bob Nutting, stating this is the year. This is the, not the year where they're going to win it all, but this is the year where they're going to take contention seriously and where there's going to be an uptick, including in payroll, including in general commitment to the game that's being played right in front of them. They don't use that phrase, I do. And it all sounded good, and a lot of people got excited. And whenever so-and-so's name would show up on the free agency list, you would look at what he might get paid. Let's say someone like a Jordan Montgomery or even a Blake Snell. And you say, man, I could really picture the Pirates doing this because their payroll is currently here, and the $100 million plateau where they absolutely should be spending is way up there. So there's plenty of room. So just go sign this guy and we're all going to be happy. But this week, in front of reporters in Bradenton, Cherington acknowledged right out loud that, let me rephrase that. He didn't say it super starkly. He didn't say, that's it, I'm done adding people. But he spoke in a very familiar code for, this is pretty much it. I'm done here. I'm wiping my hands here on my pants. Okay? I've done my work for the winter. I'll keep my eyes open and, of course, all of our options and blah, 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 but I'm done. So this is what he did. This was his winter. And I'm saying this with Montgomery and Snell still out there. Montgomery saying publicly that he'd really appreciate having the option to play for what he described as a smaller market team. I hate that term, but you get the idea. He wouldn't be like, oh no, it's Dodgers or Yankees or bust. He would like that atmosphere for himself and his family. Awesome. Wonderful. Forget it. No chance. So the summation of the work that Cherington did was to sign Chapman and to get, at really low costs, Perez, Tellez, and Grandal. And of course to bring back Kutch. He's got no choice in that. I don't even give him credit for that. He doesn't bring back Kutch, he's going to get run out of town. So he really brought in 4 guys, only one of whom cost more than $10 million, and even that was just by $500,000. They just crossed over that line, almost as if there's some sort of benchmark that they feel they need to check off to keep the union or the fans or even Major League Baseball itself off of their backs. This is the lamest possible outcome for this particular offseason within the circumstance that they said they were going to take it seriously. Never, ever, ever listen to what they say. Watch what they do. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern that's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from Smiley, and it's one of many that was sent this way following the episode yesterday about Dowry Moretta possibly needing Tommy John surgery and becoming the 5th to have the procedure within the past couple of years. And Smiley says, the 3 most discussed topics regarding Pittsburgh pitchers are, in no order, loss of velocity, elbow reconstruction, pitchers improving when they leave the organization. Common denominator? Well, yeah, and this is kind of my point, because I had some people come back with different time frames and different spans in which the Pirates looked more favorable in this regard. Let's say if you go back over 5 or 6 or 10 years or whatever. But my point here was what I think yours is, Smiley, which is this is really recent. And this is a rash of surgeries. Now, can that be a coincidence? Sure, of course. Can that be too small a sample size? Yeah. But that's the period in which Oscar Marine's employed. Not that one of these 3 things is occurring, but that all 3 are occurring. I don't know that it would be fair to throw Oscar in with pitchers going elsewhere to get better, because you've got Robert Stevenson and maybe another example or two, but the rest of the ones that we're thinking about are all from the more distant past. But what you haven't seen under Oscar either is pitchers improve under his watch. So I'm not sure if there's really much daylight between those two concepts, because if, for example, Roansy Contreras was somehow out of the organization and Roansy goes somewhere else, he's going to get better. Okay? He just is. Somebody's going to figure him out. And it's not just the Rays. I use them as an example all the time just because it's, it's funny or whatever, but somebody's going to sort him out. So the Pirates holding on to these guys just because they're afraid that they'll get better somewhere else doesn't exactly make their marks in this category any higher. The same goes for lost velocity, and the same goes for these surgeries. Now, I'll say this for the millionth time. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be one. I'll get really animated on the subject because I care about it, but it doesn't mean that I know individually, inherently, what I'm talking about when it comes to pitching. I gave up attempting to learn pitching forever ago. What I do instead is I communicate with people who actually are experts in this, people who actually have done it or have taught it or have developed it. And this is the common denominator. This is what we're talking about here. I believe it's all lumped together, and that if you take it in little pieces and parts, and well, there's this guy, but then this happened to him, and that was kind of odd. And then this other situation, that happened to him. You can do that forever. That's an easy way to get out of any vexing situation. Pick it apart. Just talk about the details. When you look at it overall, does this even need an opinion? I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these on Monday.